Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. The function of prayer is not to influence God, but, rather to change the nature of the one who prays. People demand freedom of speech, as a compensation for the freedom of thought, which they seldom use. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. There are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true, the other is to refuse to believe what is true. The most common form of despair is not being who you are. It is perfectly true, as philosophers say, that life must be understood backwards. But they forget the other proposition, that it must be lived forwards. The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. The Bible is very easy to understand. But we Christians are a bunch of scheming swindlers. We pretend to be unable to understand it because we know very well that, the minute we understand, we are obliged to act accordingly. What if everything in the world were a misunderstanding? What if laughter were really tears? Once you label me, you negate me. To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself. The tyrant dies, and his rule is over, the martyr dies, and his rule begins. To venture causes anxiety, but not to venture is to lose oneself. And to venture in the highest is precisely to be conscious of oneself. Face the facts of being what you are, for that is what changes what you are. God creates out of nothing. Wonderful, you say. Yes, to be sure, but He does what is still more wonderful, He makes saints out of sinners. To cheat oneself out of love is the most terrible deception, it is an eternal loss for which there is no reparation. If anyone on the verge of action should judge himself according to the outcome, he would never begin. Don't forget to love yourself. Boredom is the root of all evil, the despairing refusal to be oneself. Life has its own hidden forces, which you can only discover by living. Patience is necessary, and one cannot reap immediately where one has sown. At the bottom of enmity between strangers lies indifference. During the first period of a man's life, the greatest danger is not to take the risk. Trouble is the common denominator of living. It is the great equalizer. The unhappy person is never present to themselves, because they always live in the past, or the future. Marry, and you will regret it. Don't marry, you will also regret it. Marry or don't marry, you will regret it either way.